Good morning and welcome to the SSDA webinar Engaging with Travel Trade. What we're going to cover today is we're going to try and give you pointers to try and increase sales. As you know, with the travel trade, the main markets are Germany and the USA, but we also, in debunking the myths, we'll show there's lots of different markets out there, etc. Just to give you an introduction, the programme is we've got Karin Gidlund with us, who's got over 25 years experience working with the travel trade. Neil McQuiston from Kitchen Cues and News. Ida Davidson from the Moffat Distillery. So the three speakers will just talk about various different things to do with the travel trade. I'll add a few things at the end. For questions, if you can put them in the chat box, and then we'll try to gather them at the end for the specific speakers as opposed to disturbing the flow during the meeting. And then I'll give you a quick resume before you all log off just of what's coming up next with SSDA. So just to start with debunking some of the myths. I know that on the call we have people who are newbies to travel trade and learning about the concept, people who are halfway there but not quite working with the travel trade yet, and others who have a little bit more experience as well. So, forgive us if you're hearing some of the same messages again, but it's always a great way to learn, and especially learn from people's experiences of what they've done actually in the travel trade or with the travel trade, which will help you. So travel trade is not big. A lot of people are put off because they think that the travel trade is not just large, it's large groups. They always think, oh, coaches, I'm frightened of coaches. I can only take 6 at a time. It's not always large groups. It goes from small individuals right up to a coach load. It's not just international visitors. We also talk about the travel trade as being domestic. And honestly, not difficult to work with. Once you have your ducks in a row, it's all go. And they're very, very responsive to actually getting the product which they can then sell to their clients. The travel trade is not inaccessible for everyone. It is accessible for everyone at various different levels, at various different mediums as well. So I won't discuss too much longer. What I'm going to do is just stop sharing, and we're going to hand over to Karin.
Fantastic. Thank you, Morag. And hello, everyone. As Morag said there, my name is Karin, and I'm going to give you a bit of a crash course in everything travel trade. So buckle up, because I've got 20 minutes here to really explain to you what travel trade is and what do they need from you, really. So as Morag mentioned there, my name's Karin. And I have a lot of years of experience working for different tour operators and DMCs. Companies like CIE Tours, Abbey Ireland and UK, and Rabbies. You may be familiar with those little coaches that you might see around. And I've worked in contracting and product development, but I've also worked in sales. So I've been on both sides. I've been the buyer who would be buying from you, but I've also been the supplier who would be selling products. But I'm now working for myself. I've started my own little business. So what I do is I help small tourism businesses like yourselves to become travel trade ready, to become bookable online, or, help with sales support or marketing support, etc. So, what am I going to talk about is, first of all, before I get into the travel trade side of it, I've already mentioned one abbreviation, DMC. And the thing about the travel trade is there will be lots of jargon, lots of different abbreviations that you are going to have to get used to if you work with the travel trade. So I'm just going to mention a few of those here. Some of you might be really familiar with this. Some of you, it might be new to you. So I'll just go through them quickly. I've already used one abbreviation, DMC. So a DMC is really, really key to travel trade, and it stands for Destination Management Company. So imagine a big tour operator in the US. They may want to sell Scotland, but they don't have anyone on the ground here. They don't have the local knowledge. So what they need is a company that provides that service, and that's what a DMC does. They will help these big international tour operators by booking guides, attractions, accommodation, etc. If they look after all the services, they're usually referred to as ground handlers because they handle everything on the ground. Or they can also be called wholesalers, and usually they then focus on something particular, like just accommodation. So that's DMCs. Then you have the OTAs, that's the online travel agents. That's another abbreviation you'll hear me mention in the next 20 minutes or so. Those are all the big brands you've heard of: Expedia, Get Your Guide, Viator, etc. And they sell usually attractions, activities, and accommodation online. I will also mention B2C. And when I talk about B2C, I'm talking about tour operators or travel agents who sell directly to the general public, either via a website or through a shop. And I also mentioned B2B, and those are tour operators who sell to other tour operators or travel agents, so to other companies. And the final abbreviation is FIT, and I encourage you to say FIT instead of FIT, because that can create a little bit of misunderstanding sometimes when you refer to someone as FIT. There's a lot of discussion about what FIT actually stands for. The key words here are that they are independent travelers. It's someone who is traveling on their own, not as part of a group. So they may be on a self-drive, it might be a city break, etc. That's good examples of FIT products. So that's a bit of a crash course when it comes to travel trade jargon. Next thing to address is what is the travel trade, and Morag has already mentioned that to you, so I'll go through this really quickly. So the travel trade, when we talk about that, it is different intermediaries who will sell your products on your behalf. So this could be as part of itineraries or packages or as standalone products. The travel trade is not just groups. It can also be individuals. It is any booking that you get from different tour operators, DMCs, travel agents, OTAs, etc. And tour operators and OTAs, they usually sell both B2C and B2B. DMCs and wholesalers, they work exclusively B2B, and travel agents sell B2C. So they all have different sales channels that you can take advantage of. So the big question is always, why should you work with the travel trade? Well, it is a very time and cost-efficient way for you to sell your products, especially internationally. Instead of you having to go to the US, pay for that, and meet all these different travel agents and tour operators, you can work with a couple of DMCs and they will do all that work for you. They have a marketing and sales budget that you can only dream of. They have money, they send their team out to Germany, to the US. They attend travel trade shows. They do a lot of work on your behalf. They will be promoting your products on your behalf. And another thing to keep in mind is they will take the financial risk for you. You will work with a DMC and you will pay them in pounds. You will have a contract in pounds. They are the ones who have contracts in dollars and euros and have to take that financial risk. And you have a contract with them where they may have credit with you, but they guarantee payment. So if an international tour operator goes bankrupt, it's their problem, not your problem. So there's loads of benefits of working with the travel trade. So what do they expect in exchange? Well, they expect trade rates. They expect you to give them a discounted rate. And actually using the word discounted is wrong, because really what you are doing by giving them a discounted rate, you are paying them for all these services, all the work that they are doing for you. So I wouldn't see that as a discount. I would actually consider that marketing spend, because instead of you having a second person, having to hire someone to look after your sales and marketing, instead of you having to go out to the US to do sales trips, you give them a discount, they will look after these things for you. Have I sold the travel trade to you? A few nodding heads. Good. So what you need to be to work with a travel trade is something we call travel trade ready. But what does it mean to be travel trade ready? So from a travel trade perspective, so from the perspective of a tour operator or a DMC or an OTA, what they expect of you is that you understand what the travel trade need from you, and that you are able to provide. So what I'm going to attempt to answer is a very important question in this little presentation. And the question is, what does the travel trade need from you? To explain that, you kind of have to understand how a tour operator and DMC works. OTAs are slightly different. You have to do a lot of work with the OTAs. You have to fill in your own page on their website, etc. But tour operators and DMCs will do a lot of work for you. So you probably have a contact with a DMC or a tour operator. Your contact will be the person who will be visiting you, will be going on the fan trips that turn up at your site. They are also the ones that will contract you and put all the agreements in place. But they won't book you. They won't promote you. They won't sell you. So all these additional benefits are looked after by other departments. So they will usually have a team called reservations or operations, and they are the ones who will book you. So they're the ones who will contact you to book. They won't promote you because that's a different department. They will have a marketing team, and the marketing team will be promoting you. So, put you on websites, social media, etc. But the marketing team, won't sell you. They have a sales team for that. And the sales team will sell you, usually B2B. So they are the ones who will be going out on sales trips, attending trade shows, etc. And they're the ones who have the power to get you into brochures for all these big international tour operators across the world. So the relationship with your contact as a tour operator or DMC is really, really important. It's important that you have a good relationship. You want to talk to them regularly. You want to show them, ideally, you want them to come and see your property or your attraction. You want to keep them updated as well. But you also want to make sure that they have the kind of information that they can share with all these other departments, the departments that you may not necessarily meet. So, to answer this question, what does the travel trade need from you? I have a one-word answer for you, and the word is information. Okay, they need information. So what kind of information is that? I will break it down into three things that you need to make sure that you can provide. First of all, images. Second of all, information about your product and services. And thirdly, operational details and the all-important trade rates that we've already discussed, the discounted rates. So let's go through these things in a little bit more detail. And I'm sorry if I rattle through these things. I've got so much to share, but Morag is going to share the recording. So if you need to revisit, if you want to grab screenshots of anything, absolutely, you'll get that chance after. Let's start with images. Never underestimate the importance of an image. I have worked in product development, and when I develop product, I could be so inspired by an image that I could create a whole itinerary or package around just one image. For example, this is Abbey Castle in Northumberland. Look at that image. They have this thing where they teach people to play Quidditch and ride a broom. Based on that one image alone, I created a self-drive itinerary. I mean, inspiration. This is a hotel in Northern Ireland. They are Dairy Girl themed. If you haven't watched Dairy Girls, it's genius. They have Dairy Girls afternoon tea. You get a Dairy Girls duck for your bath. I mean, it's genius. Around that image alone, I created a city package, a Dairy Girls themed city package. This is the Scotch whisky experience in Edinburgh. You can see it's whiskey pair dining. It's different whiskies paired with food. And that was one of the biggest selling products when I worked at Rabbi's, because it was such a striking image. You could see there, you're going to have different whiskies, you're going to have food. So these images are so inspirational. So that is so important that you have really, really good imagery. And these images, they'll be used in brochures, they'll be used on websites, in marketing materials, but the travel trade may also share them with their customers, and they will also use it for training. because it's a great way for all these different departments who haven't been to visit your site, who haven't seen your hotel or visited your attraction. It's a great way for them to get a feel for what you offer and what your product is like as well. So a few tips when it comes to images, a few suggestions. You can create an online image library and you can just share a link. There are lots of those available, free ones. One example is Dropbox or Flickr. I'm not recommending anything, I'm just mentioning a few examples. Or set up a folder on your computer and you can use something like WeTransfer to just send the images to people. If you have videos, they're also great. Share them too. And make sure you have the rights to use these images so that you don't have to ask the photographer for permission every time you share the images. And also make sure you name the photos with descriptive names, okay? This is a common mistake. I'll give you an example. This was a bunch of images a supplier sent to me. I haven't got a clue what these images are all. I would literally have to sit and go through and look at all of them to figure it out. So if you are an accommodation provider, make sure that the images have names. In this example, standard room, executive room, restaurant, lobby, etc. If you're an attraction or activity, here's Annie Castle again. They do things right. You can see you have exterior photos. You've also got dining room, drawing room. You have the rooms and the Harry Potter pictures so that anyone who's looking at this can tell what the picture is of. So the second bit of information is product information. So what you need is something that we tend to refer to as the elevator pitch. You need to figure out, what do you offer the clients? So when you talk to the travel trade, you need to tell them, what is it that you offer? Why should they book you and what makes you unique? And then you build an elevator pitch of your unique selling points. What do you offer? Why should they book you? What makes you unique? And be prepared to explain this in 2 to 3 sentences. Okay? You need to grab their attention so that someone who's never been to your property or been to your attraction, that they understand what you offer and why they should book you. Make it short and snappy. I have seen some of these descriptions that are 2 or 3 pages long. I have bad news for you. Tour operators, especially people who work in product and contracting, they have the attention span of a goldfish, okay? They are inundated with new product. They have very little time. They're very busy. They need to have their attention grabbed really, really quickly. So you have got 2 or 3 sentences to sell your product to them, to explain why they should be booking you. So you need to stand out. You need to make the product developer excited about your product in your elevator pitch. You also need to make the reservations team want to book you, and you want to make the sales team want to recommend you to their clients. So you need to come up with a good description of what you do. How do you do that? Well, I think images will help you. Coming up with an elevator pitch will help you as well. And you really need to believe in your product and really know how to sell your product. And then it tends to come quite naturally once you know what it is that you are offering. So now to the boring bit. The third thing on the list, the operational details. And what I always recommend to my clients is to create an information sheet where you have all the information that the travel trade would need to know about your products and your services. And this way, you will save them a lot of time. You will save yourself a lot of time because they won't have to contact you every time they have a question. They can just refer to this product sheet. So I'm going to ask you a bit of a rhetorical question. Have a little think about this. What do you think is the one thing that 99% of these information sheets don't have on them? I'll give you a little bit of a clue. It is coach parking and access. I think it comes natural to us because we're so used to going by car. We don't really consider, is that road suitable for a coach? Is that bridge too low for a coach? That is really important information for tour operators when they provide, or when they have groups for you as well. It's not always easy to know about coach parking and access. So my tip of the day is talk to your local coach company. They will know. So if you're not 100% sure how to get to you the best way or where to park in your area, if you don't have parking on site, talk to the local coach company. So this product information sheet, what I've done here is I have listed things that I think should be on a product information sheet. It's a lot of information in one go. I'm not going to be able to talk you through everything, so you might have to revisit this presentation just to grab a screenshot of these slides. I'll point out a few important things. So for attractions and activity companies, what you should have on the sheet is that short description, the elevator pitch, description of your product or your service. What's included? What's not included is also important to mention. Seasonality, duration, your rates, the public rates, but also that trade rate. And my suggestion is to have just the one rate. Don't faff about having an FIT rate and a group rate. It's much easier to have one fixed rate that the travel trade, if they send you one person or 50 people, they get the same rate. That's easier. Your contact details and how to book you. Do you have online booking? People love that. Or do they have to book via email? What's your location? What's your parking? What's your access? Your terms and conditions, and your payment terms as well. For accommodation and food providers, similar. Short description of your property or your venue, all your unique selling points. Your star rating for accommodation. How many rooms do you have? What's the type of room? How many of the rooms are twins? How many are doubles? How many are executive rooms? The dining options, different menus. If you have any other facilities, if you're an accommodation provider. Your rates, are they dynamic or are they static? Prices for the food, the different menus. How to book, blackout dates, and again, payment terms and conditions. So these are quite handy lists to make sure that you have all that information so that you can provide this to the travel trade. So what should the format be? Well, it varies a lot. The important thing is the content and that it's structured well so that people can easily find the information. Also, have it ready a year in advance. You need to start thinking about 2025 now because the travel trade will need the 2025 information by April, really. And don't forget to include images. I keep going on about it. Include images as well. Couple of examples. This is a one-page product sheet. At the top, there's a description, an outline. You have the booking information. You then have the different services with the details. And at the bottom, terms and conditions and an image. It doesn't have to be just one page. Here's an example of a 3-page one where you have the services on the first page. And then the next pages, you have rates and terms and conditions and how to book, etc. For accommodation, this is a great fact sheet from a hotel. You can see they have images, so you can see the property, but also how many rooms. They even have information about coach parking. Well done, the Arnold City Hotel. So what happens with this information once you've sent it on to your contact? Well, they are going to share it internally with all these other departments that will help promote and sell your product. They probably have a shared folder where they will save the information. They're going to load it on their booking system, and then they share it maybe via email or a weekly newsletter or a meeting with all the other departments so they are aware that they have this information about your product. And how will it be used? Well, going back to the different departments, the product and contracting team, they will use it when they are planning itineraries and pricing itineraries and packages. The reservations team will refer to this information sheet when they're talking to clients or preparing vouchers or client documentation. The marketing team, they will refer to it when they create brochures or update their website, etc. And the sales team will use it when they create sales presentations, or they might share your images with their clients or when they talk to clients as well. So just to summarize what I have rattled through, and I know I've gone through this really, really quickly, but just to summarize it really quickly here is have a clear idea of your product and what your unique selling points are. Really know your product. Collate this information, your images, the product information sheet. If you have those two things, the travel trade will love. And update the information every year and try to send it out at least a year in advance. And be memorable. Really love your product, know your product, and stand out. It's a crowded marketplace. There's lots of interesting product out there. So make sure that you stand out amongst all the other products as well. So thank you so much. That was me done there. So I'll stop sharing.
Thanks for that, Karin. Really interesting. Fantastic overview. And as both yourself and Morag have mentioned, we will be sharing the recording of this so you can go back to it and dig into it a bit more depth as well. And if possible, yeah, we might as well have possibly got the slide decks as well that we can share as a PDF. Yeah, excellent. We can do that. We'll hand over to Neil now and the fabulous Kitchen Coups news.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. And I'll better set out right at the beginning, folks, that while everybody else that's speaking here has decades of experience in the tourist industry, I don't. My wife and me had absolutely no experience at all of all things tourism up until about 4 years ago. But we felt the need, we wanted to diversify our farm business here and protect it against some of the vagaries of the future that lies ahead for farming, possibly. And I always wanted to develop a tourism side to our business here. So we had a soft launch of our business idea in the autumn of 2019. And the idea was to sell experiences that were, and the big hook was our herd of Highland cows. So we had this soft launch. We didn't have a fanfare of trumpets or anything. We just quietly started our business. And we had this little trailer. It held about 10 people. And it wasn't long before we realized that we had one of those Jaws kind of moments where we thought we are going to need a bigger boat here, because we realized the market was far bigger than we anticipated. So it was in that same autumn period that the travel trade actually came and found us. The main hotel in Stranraer, the Northwest Castle, they got in touch with us and they asked us if we could accommodate a coach load of visitors during that period between Christmas and New Year. Will you be open then, they asked. And of course we said, of course we'll be open. We'd never actually thought about whether we'd be open or not, but that's one of the first things we realised, that if you're going to get a start made in any business, you need to look for an opportunity. And if you're open when everybody else is closed, you've already made yourself an opportunity there. So in the autumn of 2019, they wanted to ensure that we could deal with a coach load of 50 people between Christmas and New Year in 2023. So at that stage, we had no way of accommodating 50 people, but we said that by Christmas 2023, we would be ready and we would have facilities there to sit down 50 people. We ordered a huge monstrous trailer that could take 25 people to take half of them. And we started working on the buyer for the cafes type eating area. And by March, of course, the whole country was locked down. We'd made all this investment and commitment, and the future didn't look very bright at all. So that all fell apart completely. And then Albatross Travel, they got in touch with us that year. And they asked us, they actually had a connection with the Northwest Castle Hotel, and they asked us if they could include us in an itinerary for an itinerary that they were putting together for the southwest of Scotland. And of course, we said we would. And by this time, we'd already had some coaching from a lady called Yvonne Y. Gunn, who gave us superb advice. And just as we heard from the previous speaker, she had got us sorted out with a fantastic fact sheet that was full of very graphic images that really sold our product and all the information that was needed. And folks, if if I could give you one piece of advice when it comes to working with the travel trade, don't be frightened to pay somebody to help you in that, to get started, to prepare yourself for working with the travel trade. It's well worth it. You won't learn these things from peer-to-peer group meetings and things like that. You need a professional to help you there, to make you ready. And while I connected completely with that slide with the goldfish in it there from the previous speaker there, because I've got a memory like a goldfish when it comes to those acronyms. I can't remember a single one of them from day to day, but often I think the travel trade is a little bit like my television. I don't really need to understand how the television works. I just need it to come on every time I press the on button, and it works. And you need to realize that those people need to make some money as well. So our alliance with Albatross Travel, because they started sending coaches to us in that lockdown period, they were only half full. So instead of getting 50 people, sometimes there was 18 people, sometimes there was 22. And if we had stuck rigidly to our terms and conditions, we would never have offered them the discounts or the attractive price. But because of the conditions that were pertaining at the time, we waived all those terms and conditions, and we made sure that buses kept running. And it actually gave us an opportunity to prepare for larger numbers of coaches coming in the future. And getting that first foot on the ladder with the tourist trade and getting that coach company to take us on that first time is the most difficult one to get, because after you've bagged one, it makes it far easier to bag another one, because it gives the next person that you're dealing with the confidence that, oh, you've worked with Albatross, you must be a proper kind of a business here. And it's like reading the reviews before you purchase something yourself. It's given the travel trade the confidence to book you that you can actually deliver the product that you claim that you can. So, of course, things have moved on since then, and we've now working with about 10 different companies through the travel trade. But to put it into perspective, of the 4,000 visitors that came to Kitchen Coups and News last year, about 700 of those visitors were through the travel trade. And I know that's probably not a significant amount compared with the total throughput of our business. Those tours, we try to encourage them to come on days that are quiet days for us. We try to keep them off the weekends. The weekends they book up freely anyway from the general public. So the travel trade, the coaches that arrive here, they generally come on a Wednesday, which is great for us. It gives us business right in the middle of the week. And the coaches are starting to fill up now. We've had one coach in the spring with 52 people at it on the coach, which is a fantastic piece of business when you offer them a little bit of discount. That company is Thorn Travel, I think it was. They organised the tour. They gathered up all the people, and they took all those individuals and brought them here in a coach. And we are more than happy to offer them a discounted price for that, because we had no part to play in getting all the people here. We just enjoyed 52 people turning up, and they all had to go out through a gift shop at the end of the day as well. It's an absolute win-win situation when that starts to happen for you. A word of warning, folks, that it doesn't always work out, and you have to be prepared for everything not going smoothly, because early on we did manage to, as somebody described it to me, we landed a big fish. There was a tourist company from America got in touch with us, Colette, if I remember their name, and they wanted to book 18 coaches into the farm here throughout the summer of 2022-23. And it was quite a tortuous arrangement. It was a big contract for us anyway. Maybe not a big contract on their terms, but on their scale. But we had lots of things to consider. We had contracts to sign and fine detail, and we had to assure them that all our fire precautions were up to date, and we had all our food standard certificates. We had to prepare to be prepared to serve them lunch, which was not something we intended to do. So we had to invest in new equipment to be able to keep soup warm, for instance. And one or two other things that we had to have in place before we could agree on a price. And we did tell them that the hotel that they were leaving to before they came here was quite a long distance away from the farm, but they said that wouldn't be a problem. So at the end of the day, we'd signed all the contracts, and when they went and asked the bus company, the driver said, no, we just can't get to that farm in the time it's available. And that was the last I ever heard from Colette. We invested quite a bit of money and quite a bit of our time, and it all ended with no business at all. But you know what? We sucked it up, and I'm quite sure that if Colette came back on the phone or sent us another email, we'd start the whole process again, because you know, that's how it happens. It was an unfortunate thing. Somebody needed to speak to the bus company before we got to the stage where we're at, and we learned a lot from the experience. I think when you're traveling, when you're working with a travel trade, you always need to be prepared for the fact that the other person needs to make some money, and we definitely do a considerable discount for the large number of the bookings, the coaches with up to 44 or maybe even 50 people in the coaches. The smaller bookings, it's harder for the travel company. If they're only booking one person on for a £30 experience, it's difficult for them to make money. It's difficult for us to offer larger discounts on such a small amount. So to be honest, we don't do very much in the individual that gets booked onto our farm experiences here. Some of the bigger, pricier items, like we do what we call our haute couture, which is for groups of up to 6. It costs £450 in rough terms. So it's easier in that case to offer a bit of a discount so that they can make some money, and we can still operate at a level that we can make some money as well. It all comes down to money at the end of the day, and it all comes down to trust, I think, is the word that I would use when dealing with people that you probably will never meet. They need to be able to trust you that you will deliver the product. And I've been in farming for 48 years. I've been a farmer, and I'm not used to being paid for something before I actually hand over the product. And while we do have terms and conditions that says that we must be paid 7 days in advance of the event, and various different draconian penalties that if you don't do this and you don't do that, very often it's the first thing that I'll negotiate away. And tell them that rather than be paid beforehand, I'm quite happy to invoice you after we've delivered the experience to you, which I think builds trust between my business and their business, and that trust goes a long way for ensuring that you do more business with them in the future. So I think I'll probably talk on here for the next half an hour about our experience here, folks, but there's lots of interesting speakers to hear from yet, and I'm quite happy to take questions at the end as well.
Thank you, Neil. That was good to you sharing your experiences with everyone, both positive and negative, because we always have to be prepared. I myself, apart from working from SSDA, I've got over 30 years experience of working for a tour operator abroad where I was the buyer of the product, and also as a wholesaler in the UK for a niche market of educational school trips into the UK. And so I can back up so far everything that Karin and Neil have been saying, and the word trust comes very, very high in the business that I do at the moment with the school kids in my spare time. So we'll just pop across to Heidi. Okay, who, when she gets her mic on, Heidi's going to share her experience of her career and also how she's been building up travel trade business for the new distillery in Moffat. So I'd like to welcome Heidi.
Okay, basically, my name's Heidi Davidson. I've been in tourism and travel trade probably for 40 odd years. Makes me very old now. You don't get white hair for nothing. But basically, I worked as a travel trade executive with Edinburgh Woolen Mill for 37 years, which was promoting the 32 visitor centres throughout the UK, which is a different kettle of fish than the high street stores, which obviously led to a lot of confusion in my working life. When you work for a high street company and visitor centre section, they don't really understand travel trade either. So I had to wing an awful lot of what I did with them there. Working for a large company, a large corporate company, is extremely different from where I currently work today. The main points of this was dealing with a slightly larger set marketing budget, which allowed us to divide that between the 32 sites. And you can imagine it's a bit different now. This also allowed us to be members of the many organisations. A couple of examples: UK Inbound, ETOA, which is European Tour Operators Association, ASVA, Coach Drivers Club of Great Britain, Coach Tourism Association, all very like-minded companies where you got to meet an awful lot of different people. Trade shows attended on a regular basis as well. Again, that's a huge part of a budget. But World Travel Market in London, we joined up with Visit Scotland or ETOA to do that because it's too expensive to do it individually. British Travel Trade Fair at Birmingham, Group Leisure Show, and also Visit Scotland Expo. All great opportunities to get everybody in one place over 2 or 3 days. The main part of my job role then was to attract coach business to these sites by volume, as well as dealing with DMCs and tour operators worldwide. It also allowed me to build up a strong and varied database of companies and individuals predominantly involved in travel trade. Also got to meet an awful lot of nice people as well, which today are still friends. Like many things in life, it's not always what you know, but who you know. So contacts are a really, really big thing in here. One of the main ways to gain this is to attend as many wide and varied events as your budget will allow. So then when I move on to my next job role, on leaving EWM, I met up with Nick and Erin Bullard, who'd recently moved to Moffat from the US and had planned to build what is now the Moffat Distillery, which was like, oh my God, Moffat's never had anything like this because we're not really around for attractions in this area. But it was great for me because instead of traveling up and down the whole country, I could actually work from home. And it was like, you know, instead of doing 40,000 miles a year, I'm lucky if I do 3,000 now. So that kind of puts it into perspective. But things have changed. But the distillery is now built. And I joined them in 2020 when it obviously as a sales and marketing pioneer, which is where that comes in from being American. Erin is very much American. So the sales and marketing pioneer, which is me, right? To promote the products, mainly blended Scotch and now wood-fired gin and Moffat liqueurs. So when you're working for a small family-owned business, it's a bit different than working from a corporate. So they were very newbies on that side of it. And the reason we worked really well was because probably my past experience, and they'd no idea of travel trade and things like that as well. But anyway, we built up that, and it's so much easier to talk to than a board of directors when you're only talking to two people who actually own the company. So in perspective, it is totally different. The thing is, as the start of COVID and shutdown, it was difficult to attend anything in person, as most of the events were held online. And the first couple of years saw me attending Visit Scotland Connect and Explore GB Virtual, which were all free of charge, which is a great bonus for a startup business. And this was all done using pre-booked appointment slots. And this meant an awful lot of pre-book and preparation work. But as I say, no pain, no gain. And it allowed us to target our market as only having 10-minute slots online. You have to get over what is worthwhile and what makes you, as it's been mentioned a few times in there, your USP. Social media is another ideal opportunity to promote what you have to offer the client and individuals. A strong website is required in this digital age, because I mean, I was a bit of a dinosaur as well, that in a few years on leaving EWM to working alongside Dark Sky Spirits or Moffat Distillery, technology has come on leaps and bounds, and there's an awful lot of young techie people out there, so you've got to be up to date with everything that's actually happening. As I said, the strong website, probably Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook are other opportunities also. One thing I will say, dealing with the travel trade is not always an instant return. It takes time to build up new business connections. And after what seems an awful lot of legwork, it's usually worth it in the end. To keep in touch with your new contacts, either by press releases or updating them on all new and relevant information, which has all been said before, but it's very important that you keep that contact going. Visit Scotland offers a travel trade section free of charge, where you can promote your site offer in a limited way, but it allows you to add your contact details and, of course, joining local groups like SSDA are an ideal way of cost-effectively promoting your site and meeting with like-minded companies and promoting the surrounding area. Because this is a kind of SSDA has opened a whole new network in joining in with the Borders and Dumfries and Galloway, because it was a bit like Forgotland's South, but it's made such a difference in the past few years. It also gives you the opportunity to host familiarization trips to your attraction, which can include tour operators, press visits, or online bloggers, or anything. There is nothing better than getting somebody into your building, because no matter what you've got or how you try to promote something, if you've actually got them in your building, it's so much easier to do. What we've got is, what our USP is, we're Scotland's first wood-fired distillery. And as soon as you mention that to people in there, it's like, oh, really? But we're not like the big distilleries either. We're a small, unique artisan distillery. I mean, when you see the equipment that we've got on our sites, it's like, you know, you have to see it to believe it. We also use feedback from TripAdvisor, as this is an ideal form of feedback from visitors to the distillery. So it also gives you ideas for individuals, groups, or anything else like that. But I mean, the more you can get from things like TripAdvisor, use that media, let people know what's going on there, because they do check out before they come. Nowadays, everybody looks up online, you know, what's the place like, what was people's feelings of it and things. Basically, when you go on to the next slide, Morag, we try and give as much information as possible on your site, which is experience, cost, and facilities. We've produced a document that you can either be printed or a digital copy. plus a copy of your terms and conditions are a must, as working with travel trade is very very different from working alongside other visitors. Cost factor is important for groups, as this allows the tour operator to get the best possible deal for the groups. And of course, they do the actual legwork, as said beforehand. And you're prepared for the visit and timings of visits, allowing you to give them the best experience possible. The Moffat Distillery offer an online booking system for both the public and a separate one for travel trade, as obviously there are different cost factors and other offers for each section. It's, if you get the next slide, Morag. What we've did is, because it's been a couple of years, because trying to get everything, I was trying to sell something that was out there that wasn't open and everything else. So we only opened in July 2023. And as you can see, it's still, well, we try to get as many nice photographs as we can, but it's still a little bit of a building site, but inside the facilities are there. So we produced this information sheet, which gives you the experience, the cost, the facilities. So in producing this in a digital copy or as a hard copy, it was an ideal way of letting everybody know what we've got, what our offer is. One of the comments made there about the parking is like for coaches. We've got ideal space for coaches and everything else. We're just on the edge of town. We're not here to take business away from people like the Moffat Woolen Mill. We're looking to work alongside them. It's giving them a different experience. So the more people we can actually get in here, the better from that side of it. Terms and conditions are a must, as working with travel trade is very different from working alongside other visitors. Cost factor is important, as I said, for groups, as this allows the tour operator to get the best deal for the groups. And of course, they do the actual legwork beforehand, as said by Karin. And you're prepared for the visit and timings of visits, showing you to making sure that you actually give them the best experience possible. The Moffat Distillery offer an online booking system for both the public and a separate one for travel trade, as obviously there are different cost factors and others from each section. So all in all, it's been a learning curve for me as well, because rather than dealing with a nice steady big budget on there, everything you have to do in there, because there really is only 3 full-time people here. Well, I'm not even full-time, I'm only part-time at the moment, because it doesn't really allow financially me to be there like 40 hours a week. But hopefully all the legwork that's been done for the past, say, 3 years, it's got us seen now, and we've had farm trips, we've had meetings, we've got what we call the midnight parlour for holding meetings and things in there as well. We hold events from there, from carols and cocktails to stag and hen parties, all that kind of thing. But it's wide and varied, and being an individual company, we're not having to answer to, well, I'm not having to answer to anybody except Nick and Erin, and they can make the decisions there and then, which is great. So, like I say, all the rates and everything else that we have there, it's very important that you have, good rates from there and a good visitor experience. So it's like everything else in this life. Every day is a school day, and I am still learning, even after all these years. But life's too short not to do a job that you enjoy, but good luck.
Thank you very much, Heidi. That was very informative. It's always good, I think, for us to learn about the experiences of people that we identify with, other business owners, small businesses, big businesses, etc., and to gain from their experiences. Just to add on that, one of the important, apart from being, online bookable, is very, very important, but also to get any messages across to the travel trade towards net zero green tourism. There was a slide in Ida's presentation which mentions it as well. She's got the accreditation of the biosphere where she's based. But really, it's so important these days just to be to confirm what Ida said, to be up with the tech as much as we can, and then also to really put the messages across. Finding that USP for your business is extremely important. From an SSDA point of view, so we've got some training sessions that are coming up. So for the paid members, these are a 1 day in-person training session followed by a 1-to-1 on business. So it's very limited in numbers. There's quite a few businesses on the call, I think, that could actually benefit from them. So I'll be in contact immediately afterwards just to see. The first one is Scottish Borders in February, just working out the date for one which will be based in D&G. So it's just to help you along the way as well. Now, this helps you not only with everything that you have to produce and how to understand and how to get ready for the travel trade. It also helps you in everything else that we offer at SSDA, as well as Ida pointed out, linking in as well to Visit Scotland. So as you know, on the SSH, which is Scotland Starts Here, that's our consumer-facing website, we have a travel trade directory. So for businesses that are travel trade ready and that have a paid membership, we offer there's a listing on there which is included. And this is something, it's a directory which when we're out at the trade fairs or when contact with travel trade companies, we're directing them not only to the consumer website, but we're also directing them specifically to that directory, because they then go onto it and they think, right, we know this company is travel trade ready. They can work with us. They've got all their ducks in a row, and we've also got a few ideas on that directory of what their experiences or their products might be for the travel trade. Doesn't mention prices unless you want to put the price in, but it gives them an idea of whether you are FIT for individuals, which is about 1 to 6 people, because FIT, a family traveling or a small group of friends traveling, can also be considered as FIT. Smaller groups of 15 right up to your bigger groups of over 30. So it gives them an immediate idea from that as well. From our own presence at travel trade fairs, where we're promoting the south of Scotland, and as Ida said, we're trying, to really get the message out there about all the fantastic experiences and products that there are in businesses and accommodation, food and drink, etc. in the south of Scotland. We're trying to encourage people to get off that M74 and turn right or turn left and spend some time. We're also trying, as also the ones that are coming up on the East Coast, or as we've said before, the travel trade is not just international markets, but also domestic markets. So it's your staycationers, it's that within that radius of up to the Central Belt, right down to, the northern part of England. Massive area for us that we're targeting specifically. We've been targeting the German market via the DFDS campaign on board the ferries. And we're targeting as well the American market for specific tours and treks that are going on. Trade fairs, we represent the south of Scotland. There's also an opportunity for you to be at trade fairs as well. Visit Scotland has Connect 24 in April. I know there's still some space left for it to take up a table there. There's a special offer on at the moment, and it's, if you want to just go for 1 day, a table is £900, and it is based in Aberdeen, which adds to your cost. But perhaps get together with another business, similar business, have the same appointment stream, but be 2 of you and split that cost as well. So that's a way as well for getting it, but you need to be travel trade ready. If you want more details, get in contact with me and I'll pass them along, or you can contact Helene Sinclair from Visit Scotland in the Scottish Borders, or in Tunnelly in D&G as well. Trade fairs, we tend to go to the Global European Marketplace one in we go to the UK Inbound Convention Conference, where we meet with UK travel trade operators, as well as other things, like a North American one, which is an online one, a series of appointments for a day, where I'll spend the whole day trying to sell the south of Scotland, selling as in we don't actually do the bookings, but promoting the south of Scotland. to them, and then follow up with them if they are interested in distilleries, if they're interested in accommodation, if they're interested. I will follow up with them and send them links and introductions to the businesses which we have in the south of Scotland, so that you're connecting directly with the travel trade in that way. We also communicate with them with newsletters, obviously. Fan trips, we're hoping to have, there's quite a few ones from Visit Scotland, Visit Britain, which are dipping in and out, very short ones, but still quite interesting into the south of Scotland at the moment. There's also some direct familiarisation trips as well, which will be, watch out for the news on that, and we'll try and contact some of you if it works into the itinerary for them, if it's within the interests. We try and make them around the interests of the clients that are coming, so that it's not wasting their time, because as has been said previously, the more, if they come and physically see you, then it's a great opportunity to take that contact, build that trust, and really to show them what you're all about. We do sort of like networking events where we can invite some of the various companies along to network, and we did one last year, which there was about 15 buyers and about 20 companies from the south of Scotland, specific to what their sort of the travel trade needs were. And that was quite a productive afternoon, I think, for people directly making contact and chatting about their businesses, etc. Please don't forget to send us any information about new products or experiences. We're out there trying to sell to the south of Scotland, and if there's a new product or experience that you are putting forward, then it's something that we then have the knowledge about to go and sell and promote. So I think, without taking up too much more of your time, we've got some time for questions and answers, and then I'll give you, just don't jump off straight afterwards at the questions and answers, because I'd like to really try to give you an update on what's going forward with SSDA and Scotland Starts Here, which will help you an awful lot in your future months. So if I just open it up, I think in the chat box. So the one from Stuart came in. So Stuart, small group, private driver, guided tours would be described as FITs. How do the travel trade reach these people who don't want to travel in group? Karin, do you want to jump in here?
Sorry, what was that question? How do
the travel trade reach the FIT who don't want to travel in groups?
The travel trade, some tour operators specialize in just selling FITs. So they might have a public-facing website where people would book with them, and then they would book with you. So, there are quite a lot of, in Germany or in the US, for example, quite a lot of tour operators who specialize in selling just FITs. So that's how they would reach them. They might have a brochure, website, social media, etc. Yeah, did that answer the question, do you think?
No, it did. Thank you, Karin. It's just interesting to hear that it's fully independent, but there's still a degree of interaction with the travel trade. They're not just going out and finding their own things. They still have that travel agent or an intermediary.
Exactly, and I probably didn't explain that properly before, that they are traveling independently. They might have self-drive, etc., but they still need someone to book their hotels or attractions or put the itinerary together for them. So they go through a travel agent or a tour operator to get package. They may just get a part package or the whole package through an agent, but yeah, that's how they would do that.
I think as a traveller myself, I've used, I've travelled independently quite a bit, but yeah, I'll use travel agents, especially in countries I'm not so sure of. There was a figure, correct me if I'm wrong, Karin, I think there was a figure floating around for a while that 70% of the American market books through travel agents. So it's big untapped bit.
Particularly the American market, there's a big business with these independent travel agents who literally go to people's houses, sit in their kitchen, and organize their travel for them. So Americans rely heavily on their local travel agent to look after that. But even Germany, I saw some figures before, and I'm not going to quote the exact number, but even in Germany, they do tend to trust their travel agent or the trusted tour operator brands to look after it for them. So
Yeah.
Yep. Germany, it's about 50%
Mm.
book through a travel trade company of whether it's a travel agent or tour operator, etc. And they tend to still book quite far ahead in advance, the German market. The North American, because I include the Canadians within when we talk about American markets, but the North American market, there's a strong, especially post-pandemic as well, people want that guarantee of talking to companies that know where they're going, what they're doing, that can help them out if a flight gets cancelled, etc. You know, if there's anything like that. So there is a trend at the moment of going back a step slightly to use an awful lot more of these intermediaries to actually book holidays, rather than before the pandemic. The trend was, you know, we can do this. We can do this with Expedia and this with the booking.com and this one with Airbnb, etc., and building it themselves. You still have those travelers that will find, and they will find you directly, you know, Joe Blogs, as I call them. But you've also got a big trend coming across from all over the world of actually people who want to talk to someone who knows what is on at the other end. We deal with a lot, or talked a lot to UK based travel trade companies, whether it's wholesalers, tour operators, travel agencies, etc. They in turn work a lot with foreign companies. So I mean, the other day somebody was said to me that they were put off by the fact that, well, what if they don't speak very good English? Well, you've often got an intermediary, you know, who then go on to booking with another company, and either the DMCs, for example, will work with a lot of companies abroad, in particular the destination management companies, who are also their clients. So when you're also doing your pricing, if you think about it, it's not just you, a middleman, and then the direct visitor. You might find that there's quite a few to get to the direct visitor, and that's why your information is so important, to be clear and concise so that it gets passed down, just as much as Karin pointed out that it can get passed down the different departments within a company. It can also get passed down to different things. For example, for a school trip, I'll give the information which passes to a company, say in France, who then deal with the school. But I might pass the information to a company in London who deals with a company in Italy, who then deal with the school. So, you know, all this information gets passed down. If you get it right in the beginning, you've got more of a chance at the end as well. Yeah.
And there is another question, Michelle Gamble, how do we small tour operator find these agents or contact them so that they can be put forth our tour? Is it a simple Google search?
Should I possibly jump in there and say
yeah.
that there's lots of different ways. So what I would say is, before you think about contacting an agent, make sure you are travel trade ready, because they are going to expect you to have this information if you do. And Morag has already mentioned networking, trade shows, etc., where you can meet them face to face. If you are asked to be part of a fan trip, that's fantastic. Accept it, even if there is a bit of a cost to you, because showing the product is great. But where do you start? And my top tip is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where you can find the companies, and you can find the person who you should be dealing with at that company, and try to connect with them and send them a very short message saying, I have this product in the Borders or Dumfries and Galloway. Would it be okay if I could have your email address and I can send you an information sheet with the information? Not everyone's going to get back to you, because, as I said before, they are busy, they are inundated with these messages. But if you start reaching out on LinkedIn, so LinkedIn is really, really your friend. That's where you will find the contact people. Look for the companies that you're interested in. Look at their list of people who work at that company. Go to the company page on LinkedIn. Look at the people tab and see who's working there, and find someone who is in business development, product development, contracting, and reach out to them and connect with them on LinkedIn. I think that's a really, really good first step. And knowing which companies to contact, well, I would start with the DMCs. Most of them are based in Edinburgh because they will help you on so many levels. You know, the big fish, as we call them, the Globuses, the CIE tours, they will take years of cultivating to get through your door. But if you can get a good relationship with a couple of the DMCs in Edinburgh, to name a few, Abbey, Ireland and UK, ASA, Angela Shanley Associates, AC Group, Cashel Travel, Jack Travel. If you can reach out to a few of those, that would be a great start for your travel trade journey.
If anyone on the call, obviously Michelle and Ian are from Heart, but if anyone else on the call wants just one or two introductions to start you off as well, please contact me. Okay, just pop me through an email. Perhaps we can have a chat together, and just see if there's any, because we would then be able to see who specifically might be picking up on the type of tours that you're actually doing, and we'll take you through the steps, and just to make sure that you're out there, that you, whether you have one of the category of free listing on the Scotland Starts Here, on the Visit Scotland, etc. We'll take you through that, and then just to make sure that you're actually getting the word out there in certain contacts, and that goes for anyone actually who is on the call who needs either an introduction as well. You know, you might say, look, I know this travel trade company, this is the one that I really want to get in contact with, but I've got no inroad. Then we could perhaps do an e-introduction together so that it gives you an inroad there as well as the work that we do ourselves and the work that the Visit Scotland do as well. They're out, you know, at even more road shows and travel trade shows than we are, and are obviously pointing people in the right direction and trying to make sure it's all about that networking and making the contacts for you as well. So do we have any other questions from anyone? Anyone want to?
None in the
without
chat.
Yeah, or even with it, it's better in the chat because then it gets recorded. But if not, just put your hand up and we'll pick up on it.
Neil's in a meeting just now, but we'll get that done tonight, and you'll get a meeting done.
I don't know who's got their microphone on.
Right, thank you.
It's Neil that's got his microphone on. Did you want to say something, Neil? Sorry, we were just hearing Janet in the background, not the washing machine, but Janet. Pete, yeah, if you take your mic off then and just...
Thanks very much. Sorry, I kind of accidentally sent the question directly to Karin, but Karin, can you see that? And it might be useful for other people as well. I don't know if it made sense.
Oh yeah, sorry, we didn't get that here.
Fantastic. Yeah, so sorry, I just sent you a message there. I just spotted that it's directly to me. So you were talking about the pricing of your products and how to price it in a way that you can then give this travel trade rate, the discount to the travel trade. And I have to say that that is one of the most difficult parts of being travel trade ready. So it's a great question, because you want to have an attractive public rate so that people who find you on social media or on your website, that they book you. But you also want to make sure that you have the margin so you can pass on a discount. And this is where it gets really difficult, because different travel trade will expect different discounts. If you work with an OTA like Get Your Guide, they're going to ask for 30% off. And it's quite difficult to have that kind of margin where you can give a 30% discount and still make a profit. So in those cases, you may want to focus more on the travel trade who will look for a smaller discount than that, less of a discount. And I think if you have a product that is quite expensive, you can get away with maybe a 10% discount. So if that is a margin that you can build into your pricing, that is ideal, because that might be something that sometimes you might want to give a 10% discount, you know, like you might have a bit of an offer on or something like that. So it's always good to have a little bit of a margin. What you have to consider is that this discount that you give, it has to make financial sense for the people. I've had examples where people have given a 25 pence discount, and then they had expected the company to do the work of going online and booking everything. So, you know, we're working at less than minimum wage, actually doing the work of booking them for 25 pence. So if it's a really cheap attraction you've got, you need to look at giving a couple of pounds off. But if it is, you've got quite an, you know, a higher price product, giving 10% will still give them quite a bit of you know, a discount. So they should be happy with that. But as I said, it is one of the most difficult things, finding that balance between giving a decent trade rate and being competitive with your public rate as well. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you have, say, 3 small tours, 6 people in each tour, okay. Say if you're taking them out for because you're out for cycling or something. So, you know, that's if you've got one intermediary with one travel trade company that's giving you the 3-6 tours, it's saving you the time and money and marketing and your own time of communicating with 18 different people, you know, to book them into the tours. But you've also got the opportunity that you can have your product, your tours, your attractions, etc., for what would be for the general public, and then you have a product which is, or an experience which is specific for the travel trade. For example, you take Great Tapestry of Scotland. Yes, they have the tapestry. They've got it open to the general public. They've got travel trade prices for bookings of groups over a certain number. But then they might have a travel trade experience, which is a stitcher's tale, where you can actually, as a small travel trade company, giving them a specialised thing to actually go for, and therefore the price is made up for specifically for that they get a tour of the actual tapestry, but then they also get an hour with one of the stitchers who's actually shown them all how the tapestry is put together, etc., or a personalised tour, or, you know, that type of thing, those types of ideas. You know, I mean, Trimonti and Tanya's on the call, and Tanya's they've done wonders, you know, with various different experiences and things like that they're developing specifically for them. That also avoids what you have to remember is that if you're offering something, then, you know, they're going to look and see what the public price is, and then they're going to look and see what the travel trade price is. But if your product is different, then they're not comparing the same things. So there's a few little ways around it, you know, that could be more a personalised touch, etc., of just you know, getting your idea of actually constructing and all the pricing, etc. You just have to really be careful that you're, you know, what are your costs to run this? What's your cost? What's the margin? And then what's the difference of a margin you would be making if it was for the public or if it was for the travel trade?
One thing I would also say on here is, although we state a minimum group size of 5 and a maximum of 16, we also made it said that we are very totally flexible. So we could take a coach, say like a Rabbits coach at maybe a 28-seater would be ideal, but we could still run tours for a group of 50. It's just that if it's all pre-planned, we can actually divide it all up in the time and, you know, give the better offer. So we could be doing tastings where one section's on a tour and something else. Just flexibility and making sure that you let them know what the timing of the tour is. I mean, basically, we've said a tour typically lasts about 75 minutes, and we've said allow 90 minutes from drop off to pick up. So they know to build that into the itinerary. And as Neil said about the coach companies, it's all to do with the tachograph that's on that coach, because depends where that coach is going the next day or you know, or that night. They have to build that into the timing. So it's just a thought.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions on the call? Nope, I can't see any coming. So what I'd like to do is Obviously, please get in contact. If you've got any questions after this call, I'll be sending out an email after the call, after the webinar anyway, just to give you further details on various different things. But you know, if you've got a question further down the line, then please get in contact. And you know, if we don't have the answer for you, certainly find it out for you. Okay. So I was there to help. Just to come back to SSDA, coming up, we have on the 18th of January, there's an online consultation, which is discussing the second draft of the South of Scotland Responsible Tourism Strategy plan, you know, for the South of Scotland, and how the various different stakeholders, how we can all work together to take it over, so that it's an ambitious 10-year vision of visitor economy. So it would be great to have you along on that. You will need to be reading it beforehand, so allow yourself some time for that. But you'll find all the details on the SSDA alliance.com website in the Responsible Strategy of Tourism section.
I was going to say, please do come along, and please do get into it. It's everybody's strategy. It's not our strategy. Signed with communities and with all of the key stakeholders in the region. So it's our workbook for the next 10 years, essentially.
We also have some more webinars coming up. So we have Developing Experiences one, very popular. Get signed up quickly for that one, and it'll take you through sort of, you know, the various different steps for developing experiences and how to go to market with them. A cycling workshop, more details to follow. Making the Most of Scotland starts here, which, as I say, is the consumer website that we have, actually being revamped at the moment. So you're going to see a lot of changes, more user friendly, clearer navigation for people, but also enhancement for different areas and making it easier to use for yourselves. And then in the beginning of March is How to be a Scottish Thistle Award winner. As you know, we hosted for the first time this year the South of Scotland as a region, with its own regional awards for the Visit Scotland's Thistle Awards. And those regional winners went to the Nationals. And from the Nationals, we were very successful. I think it was about 6 that the region picked up. Neil has a bit of experience in this. He was one of the regional finalists. Winners, winner. So great opportunities. There's a lot of publicity goes around it. It's a super way of actually also marketing your company and things, but it does take a knack to actually fill in the application form. And as we know, you've all got some fantastic products, you know, and experiences to actually put forward there. And there's the various different categories for it too.
We actually had the most winners that we've ever had in the South of Scotland at the Nationals, and we want to equal, if not better, that next year. So
very true.
Plug in for the cycling as well. Sorry.
Yes, cycling, because I didn't see the content to this one. You're in charge.
Yes. So we've got some fantastic speakers. It's about how everybody, it's not just the coast to coast cycle route, which is actually obviously a huge bonus for the region, and that all the infrastructure goes in this spring. It's about tapping into all of the different cycling experiences that are happening in the south of Scotland and how your business can benefit from that. So yeah, do come along if you're interested.
And then throughout February, as you know, last summer and into September, we had 14 in-person meetings in various areas across the south of Scotland. And as a follow-up to that, because we really want to be locally led as an organisation and have all the feedback from yourselves, ideas, working together, collaboration, etc. So as a follow-up to that, we have another 14 coming up in February, 7 of which are online and 7 of which are in person. And then we'll alternate with the medium when we get to into autumn time with the second series. Do you want to say anything about that one, Karin?
Yeah, as Morag says, locally led destination, really key part of our strategy. And the last lot of meetings were around heavily based on what that strategy is going to be. And now all the feedback from that has fed into the regional strategy. And we are coming back to talk about that strategy in the first draft, as well as consultation, but also we came away with over 100 action points from different areas about stuff they wanted us to do or to see start happening. And yeah, we're going to be feeding back on how that's developed and what the next steps are, how we can take that a little bit further. So yeah, do come along in person or online. We'd love to see you all.
And last but not least is we've got our conference in Dumfries on the 20th of March. So it's the Easterbrook Hall on 20th of March. So get your ticket quick because there's limited spaces left. Last year we were in the Borders at Peebles Hydro, and there was over 200 people who were there on the day. So that was about 150 businesses who were represented on the day, and you know, quite a really good lineup of speakers, interactive workshops, etc., which are going to be included, as well as networking across the board. So it's a very popular day. It's a very, very busy 2 months that obviously you can see there's a lot of things that we're doing, but there's a lot of things for you, because we try to do it at this time of the year. Don't forget, with the travel trade, they're looking towards 2025 now. So we're still able to pick up a few things for 2024, but they're looking to be starting to build up their catalogue of information, products, experiences, etc., itineraries for 2025. And that is also, that can be quite scary, of actually projecting yourself for your prices that long in advance. But it's really because that's what, you know, if they're going out to sell, they need to get it ready over this period in time to start. The big selling time for them across is often April to November. So, you know, if you can get ready for April with your propositions, please feed them back to us so that we can then feed them into everything that we are selling, as well as pointing you in the right direction if you want to participate in various things. And I know that Helen, I can see you're on the call, Helen, thank you, from Visit Scotland today, who they run quite a few different networking events as well when they can, for the businesses who are travel trade ready, and you know, who may or may not have been at Connect 23 or you know, so it's a variety of different activities that they do as well as ourselves. Okay, so if that's okay, I think chat. Okay, so thank you very much for coming today, and hope to be in contact soon and help you as much as possible to take all this forward. Okay, thank you.